their entire plan on your silence. They never once considered that you might have proof. That's the part that should tell you everything about how they saw you. Not as a person with a memory, a reputation, a paper trail, a witness they hadn't accounted for. They saw you as an easy story, a blank page they could write whatever they wanted on, because you had never fought back before. You had always taken the high road. You had always walked away, instead of escalating. And somewhere, in their small, calculating minds, they mistook your restraint for weakness. That was their first mistake, and it was the only one that mattered. Think about what it takes for someone to look you in the eye and construct a lie serious enough to bring police to your door. That's not an accident. That's not a misunderstanding. That takes intention. It takes rehearsal. It takes a level of comfort with dishonesty that most people don't reach without practice. And they had practice, because you weren't their first target. You were just the one who happened to be standing under a camera. Ask yourself honestly, chosen one, was this really the first time they'd stretched the truth to get what they wanted? Or was it simply the first time it caught up with them in a way they couldn't talk their way out of? People rarely invent a habit like this out of nowhere in a single afternoon. Usually there's a history, smaller versions of the same pattern, minor exaggerations that worked, small lies that got believed, each one quietly teaching them that dishonesty was a viable strategy as long as nobody looked too closely. This time, somebody finally did. Here's the question that probably kept circling in your head afterward. Why would they risk this? Why would they invent something this serious over something so small? Because to them, it never felt like a risk. It felt like a guarantee. They had convinced themselves that your reputation was smaller than theirs, that your word would carry less weight in a room full of strangers, that the system would simply believe the louder, more confident performance. They were betting on volume over truth. They were betting on your isolation instead of your evidence. Imagine building a house with no foundation, just stacking walls on top of sand and calling it finished. That's what a false accusation is. It looks solid for exactly as long as nobody checks underneath it. And they didn't check. They didn't think they had to. They assumed you had nothing, so they built their entire story assuming no one was watching. But someone was, something was, and it had been running the whole time, unnoticed, unbothered, indifferent to their confidence, simply doing what it was built to do. Record the truth, and hold on to it until the moment it was needed. That's the part that should sit with you, chosen one, not as fear, but as proof. They didn't lose because you fought back loudly. They lost because they built an entire accusation on the assumption that nothing existed to contradict them. And the moment that assumption cracked, everything they built on top of it came down with it. You might be asking yourself why people do this at all, why anyone would choose to manufacture a crisis instead of simply walking away from a disagreement. The answer is rarely complicated. Control. When someone can't out-argue you, can't outperform you, can't win a situation honestly, some of them reach for the only tool left that guarantees an outcome without effort. A false accusation is a shortcut, a way to skip the part where they'd have to actually be right about something. It only works, though, in a world with no witnesses, no records, no proof. They were betting on a world that no longer exists, one without a small, silent lens, quietly doing its job above their heads. Number 2, the day they called the police on you. You remember the tone in their voice when they made the call. Urgent, wounded, dramatic, like they were the one in danger.